Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. My track guide for Rudskogen in the GR86. Let's get into it. For qualifying, you want to be all the way on the right side of the track, but in the race someone might try overtake you into turn 1. I brake once I get onto the curb here on the right, and then I aim for about 80% brake pressure, easing that off all the way to the curb on the inside. Once past the curb, I do apply a little bit of throttle, just to help stabilize the car. Just make sure you stay within the white line with half a car. And we do have to brake a little bit to help the car turn here for turn 2. So once I get on this curb, I'll give it a quick dab to about 15%, going quickly off again, then letting the car roll on the curb all the way to where the grass starts. When the grass starts, you want to pick up the throttle again. I'm easing in the throttle here to make sure we don't understeer too far out from the corner. I like to stay close to the curb and exiting as the curb ends. Then of course letting the car walk out to the left side of the track, which is where you want to stay down for turn 3. If you get a bad exit out of turn 2, then people will try and overtake you into turn 3. Turn 3 is also a dangerous place on the first lap. I brake once I get to the 50 board here on the right. I do an initial hit of about 50%, and then we want to trail brake with a few percent all the way to the curb of turn 4, or just before it. This is all about keeping the car stable because it's very bumpy, so it can be really hard to brake right into this corner and it will take some practice. After turn 3 you want to track out before going in for the curb of turn 4, and just before the curb you want to pick up the throttle again. We want to aim to come out just about mid-track so we can get over to the right side. For turn 5, we don't have to brake for turn 5 or 6. We just want to turn in and cut them. Don't cut them too much because that will give you a slowdown. Before each one, just before we get to the curb, we will get a bit off the throttle and picking it up as soon as we are off. For turn 7, we want to brake when we get to the white line that runs across the track, and I aim for about 45% brake pressure, going into a trail brake in action all the way to the mid of the track after cutting the curb on the inside. Just make sure to keep one set of wheels within the white line so we don't get a slowdown. Just around mid-track, we should be able to turn the car into the corner of turn 7, getting all the way into the curb, using the throttle to help steer the car, or brake if you take too much speed. Once at the curb, you want to apply the throttle again. Again, do it gradually to make sure you don't understeer too far out. And we do have decent room on the exit we should use, just to drive fewer meters and let the car help accelerate. Then you want to bring the car over to the left side of turn track for turn 10. If you can get on the inside of turn 10, that is a great place to try and overtake. My braking marker is the 50 board here on the right side of the track, and here we want to brake as much as possible, so I do hit 100%, but quickly backing off the 100% and easing it off all the way to the curb on the inside. I do get up on the curb of turn 10, but don't cut it too much as you will go onto the grass and the car will spin. I also go down to first gear. If you find the rear is coming around, you're shifting down too early, then try to delay it. I'm going on the throttle at the top of the corner. Again, easing it in because it's really easy to lose the rear here, and of course using all of the room on the outside. Now get over to the right side of the track for turn 12. I couldn't find a good marker for turn 12, but I try and use the whiteboard here on the right side of the track. Once I start to lose the V in the middle, I'll apply the brake. Here aiming for about 65% brake pressure, easing it off to just before the curb on the inside, and we can cut this one as well. And just before the curb you want to pick up the throttle again. It can sometimes be a very tight exit here, but we can put one set of wheels on the outside of the curb. Stay up on the curb for turn 13, and just a little lift when we get to the curb, and full throttle again after. Now turn 14. Again, turn 14, not the best braking markers at all, but I'll try and brake when I look straight on the Continental sign just in front. When I start to brake, I go to about 60% brake pressure, quickly easing it off, starting close to the curb on the inside, and then I track out to just about mid-corner, so we are about halfway out. And we do that so we can turn the car in more, getting on the curb on the inside. Just before I get on the curb, I'll slowly apply the throttle again to make sure the car is stable, and then we want to use all of the available room on the outside. And that's my lap around Rudskogen in the Toyota GR86 of a time of 132.2. I have more track guides for the GR86 linked down below. Hopefully you found this one useful. If you did, leave a like down below, consider subscribing as well. And now for the uninterrupted hot laps.